Achieving profound mental fortitude is not a matter of sheer effort, but of adhering to a structured system. From ancient Japanese samurai texts emerges a four-stage process that systematically transformed common individuals into warriors capable of facing mortality without fear. This framework for building equivalent mental strength is known as Shugyo-do. Part 1. Shugyo. Rigorous training. Your entire life serves as the training ground. The Japanese conceptualize this through Shugyo, a form of rigorous training that permanently alters one's perspective on struggle. Shugyo is not mere practice. It is complete immersion in difficulty. Buddhist monks, for example, endure hours sitting beneath freezing waterfalls during winter. Their bodies tremble uncontrollably as ice crystallizes on their skin. Yet, they maintain a state of perfect stillness, discovering tranquility amid the chaos. A guiding Zen proverb explains this. The obstacle is the path. This is not to say the obstacle blocks the path. The obstacle itself is the way forward. The freezing water is not an ordeal to be tolerated. It is the very force that forges an unbreakable mind. When you cease to flee from discomfort, your mind no longer perceives difficulty as an adversary. It becomes a neutral event, merely another experience. This is how trained monks can sit in icy water with the same serenity you feel on your sofa. In contrast, modern existence has systematically eliminated nearly every form of discomfort. Excessive heat is met with air conditioning. Boredom is banished by limitless streams of entertainment. Hunger is satiated by food delivered within minutes. Each convenience erodes our resilience. Your tolerance for hardship diminishes until even minor challenges appear insurmountable. The samurai recognized this peril. In the Hagakure, Yamamoto Tsunetomo declared that the way of the samurai is discovered in death. He was referring to the death of the weaker self. This is the part of you that gravitates toward comfort and capitulates when circumstances become demanding. You can only transcend your limitations by directly confronting them. When samurai engaged in training, they did not conclude when fatigue set in. They concluded when they had been transformed. Miyamoto Musashi, a victor of 60 duels, dedicated hours each day to the practice of calligraphy. He understood that the discipline needed for a flawless brushstroke was identical to that required for a perfect strike with a sword. A single unsteady movement would ruin the entire work. Through the mastery of the brush, he achieved mastery over his own mind. The sword simply became an extension of that mental control. This is the essence of Shugyo, using a difficult task to forge mental steel. To create your own Shugyo, first identify what you habitually evade. This could be difficult conversations, physical discomfort, or the solitude of your own thoughts. Whatever you retreat from now becomes your training ground. Commit to a daily practice for 100 days, as true transformation requires time. Select a specific activity. If you avoid confrontation, engage in one difficult conversation each day. If you fear discomfort, take cold showers. If you struggle with focus, sit in silence for 20 minutes. There is no room for negotiation. When your alarm sounds, you do not think. You act. This is not about finding motivation. It is about forging an identity that automatically embraces difficult tasks. Shugyo is not for everyone. It is reserved for those who are tired of their own weakness. However, Shugyo without a clear direction is merely suffering. The monks did not train arbitrarily. Their training followed a path that imbued their efforts with meaning. This is where Budo is introduced, the martial way that elevates discipline into a life philosophy. Part 2. Budo, the martial way. Budo translates to the martial way, but it transcends common notions of fighting. Its purpose is to transform your entire existence into a discipline. Gichin Funakoshi, the founder of modern karate, articulated this principle clearly. The ultimate objective of martial arts is not victory, but the perfection of character. The emphasis is on character, not triumph. The samurai made a profound discovery. The very principles that make one formidable in combat also render one unstoppable in life. Budo means that every moment becomes a training opportunity. Every interaction serves as a test of your discipline. An irritating coworker becomes a training exercise. The temptation to quit becomes a training exercise. Life ceases to be a series of events that happen to you. It becomes your practice. The samurai embodied this principle. They did not confine their training to the dojo and then revert to ordinary behavior outside of it. They converted daily routines into rituals of discipline. Waking up was a ritual. Eating breakfast was a ritual. Even the way they entered a room adhered to specific principles. This was not due to an obsession with rules. It stemmed from the understanding that how you do anything is how you do everything. This is what enabled them to face death without flinching. They had already practiced discipline in 10,000 small moments. Death was simply another test. Yamamoto Tsunetomo captured this perfectly. Matters of great concern should be treated lightly. Matters of small concern should be treated seriously. This may sound paradoxical, but it reveals the secret to mental toughness. When you approach small things with immense discipline, large things lose their ability to dominate you. If you cannot handle morning traffic without losing your temper, how can you possibly manage a true crisis? If your discipline falters when you are tired, what will happen under genuine pressure? The small moments are rehearsals for the significant ones. Modern life provides endless opportunities for Budo. Being stuck in traffic is a chance to practice patience. Dealing with difficult people is a chance to practice emotional control. Facing a deadline is a chance to practice focus under pressure. These are the same principles the samurai used, applied to contemporary battles. The transformative shift is to stop viewing challenges as interruptions to your life. They are your life. They are not obstacles to your development. They are the method of your development. Your work becomes your dojo. Your struggles become your teacher. A well-known Japanese proverb says to fall down 7 times and get up 8. While many know this saying, few grasp its true meaning. It is not about resilience. It is about a mathematical impossibility that holds a deeper truth. You rise more times than you fall, because the 8th time is the following morning when you awaken. You get up before life can knock you down. You begin each day already standing, already practicing, already living in Budo. This is what it means to live the way. Yet, there is a risk inherent in Budo. One can practice indefinitely within the comfort of a dojo. True warriors understood they required something more. They needed to test themselves against the unpredictability of reality. This they called Musha Shugyo, the warrior's pilgrimage. Part 3. Musha Shugyo, the warrior's pilgrimage. This is the point where comfortable practice confronts uncomfortable reality. It is where you determine if your training is authentic or merely theoretical. In feudal Japan, a samurai would renounce everything, including his home, master, and security, to wander the land in search of challenges. He had no safety net and no alternative plan, only his skills against whatever fate presented. They called this training in the world. Miyamoto Musashi exemplified this existence completely. He left home at 15 and never looked back. For decades, he roamed Japan, engaging in combat with anyone who would challenge him. He fought 60 duels and was never defeated. This was not because of innate talent, but because Musha Shugyo forged him into something more than human. What is often overlooked about Musashi is that between duels, he slept in caves, ate what he could forage, and faced starvation, extreme cold, and absolute uncertainty. The duels were not the primary training. The real test was the act of survival throughout the journey. As he wrote, "You must understand that there is more than one path to the top of the mountain. When you are comfortable, you perceive only a single way forward. When you are pushed to your limits by desperation, you suddenly see countless available paths." Musha Shugyo compels you to discover pathways you never knew existed. Modern life seldom makes such demands. We exist in bubbles of safety, following the same routes, interacting with the same people, and facing the same challenges. Our comfort zone becomes a prison, and we become prisoners who love our cage. Some individuals, however, still embrace the spirit of Musha Shugyo. Consider Yuichiro Miura, a Japanese salaryman who felt spiritually dead after decades of routine. At the age of 70, he abandoned his life to climb Mount Everest. He did so without elite training or years of preparation, driven only by a decision to test himself against the ultimate mountain. He nearly perished 5 times and lost toes to frostbite, but he reached the summit. When asked for his reason, he replied that he needed to know if he was still alive. That is Musha Shugyo, deliberately selecting challenges that could break you, because it is only at the breaking point that you discover your true substance. You do not need to climb Everest, but you do need your own pilgrimage. This might be starting a business with no guarantee of success, moving to a new country, or having a conversation you have avoided for years. The specific details are unimportant. The act of leaving your zone of safety is what matters. The brutal reality of Musha Shugyo is that most who embarked upon it never returned. This was not because they died, but because they discovered they were frauds. Their skills from the dojo were meaningless in actual combat. Their mental toughness disintegrated under real pressure. This is the crucible where people find out who they truly are. The Bushido Code asserts that a samurai's word is his bond. The deeper meaning is that the most vital promises are those you make to yourself. When you commit to doing something difficult and then retreat when it becomes real, you sever the bond with yourself. Each broken promise makes you weaker. Musha Shugyo tests this bond. Away from familiar support systems and facing genuine consequences, you can no longer pretend. You either honor the word you gave yourself, or you discover that you have been living a lie. This is why warriors who complete the pilgrimage return transformed. Their transformation comes not from winning fights, but from keeping promises to themselves when quitting would have been easier. It comes from discovering they could trust themselves completely. Surviving this pilgrimage, however, is merely preparation. The ultimate transformation is achieved through the 3 stages of mastery, known as Shuhari. Part 4. Shuhari. The 3 stages of mastery. Every Japanese master progressed through these stages, not as a matter of choice, but of necessity. This is the true process of mastery. First is Shu, which means to protect or obey. This is the starting point for everyone, but a stage where no one wishes to remain. In Shu, you copy established methods precisely. There is no room for creativity or personal flair, only perfect imitation. A Buddhist proverb states that when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. Its true meaning is that the student becomes ready by completely emptying themselves of ego and preconceived notions, ready only for absorption. Modern culture resists this stage. We desire to innovate immediately, to add our own spin and demonstrate our uniqueness. The Japanese masters knew that you cannot break rules you have not first mastered. You cannot transcend basics that you do not completely own. Takuan Soho, the Zen master who instructed Musashi, explained that the mind must always be in a state of flow. In the Shu stage, however, you're not yet flowing. You're constructing the riverbed that will later guide that flow. Each repetition carves the channel deeper. Consider learning to write. You first trace letters exactly thousands of times. This is tedious, but absolutely necessary. Those traced letters form the foundation for your future signature. If you skip this stage, your writing will forever remain rudimentary. In Shu, mental toughness is the acceptance that you know nothing, the adherence to instructions without question, and the repetition of basics until they become automatic. Most people abandon the path here because it injures their ego. They want the status of a master without the discipline of a student. Next comes Ha, which means to break or detach. At this stage, you have earned a right to question. Your foundation is solid, allowing you to begin constructing your own framework. This is where personal style begins to emerge. Matsuo Basho captured this transition perfectly. Do not seek to follow in the footsteps of the wise. Seek what they sought. In Shu, you follow their footsteps exactly. In Ha, you comprehend why they took that path, empowering you to find your own way to the same destination. Finally, there is Ri, which means to leave or transcend. This is where technique vanishes, where thinking ceases and being begins. You no longer practice mental toughness. Your mental toughness. Musashi achieved the state of Ri in his final years. Living alone in a cave, he wrote that in strategy, it is important to see distant things as if they were close and to take a distance view of close things. Only a person in Ri could produce such a statement. He was not speaking of physical distance, but describing a mind that had transcended normal perception. In Ri, there is no separation between you and your practice. A master carpenter does not think about using his tools. His hands simply know. A samurai does not decide to be brave. Courage has become his nature. You do not choose mental toughness. It chooses you. This is why true masters can seem supernatural. They are no longer trying. Decades of Shu built their foundation. Years of Ha refined their understanding. Now, in Ri, they operate from a place beyond technique. They have become that which they practiced. Most individuals never reach Ri. They become comfortable in Ha, mistaking innovation for the final goal. But Ri is not about being creative or disciplined. It is about disappearing so completely that only the way itself remains. When you reach Ri in mental toughness, you no longer require motivation. You no longer use techniques. You no longer try to be strong. Strength simply flows through you in whatever form the moment demands. You have become the teaching. This is a life path, not a 30-day challenge or a morning routine. It is a complete transformation that demands years of dedication. It begins with a single decision made today. Choose your first shugyo, something you avoid, something that frightens you. Commit to facing it daily for 100 days. There can be no negotiation. There can be no excuses. There is only practice. The specific activity is irrelevant. The commitment is everything. As the samurai maxim states, tomorrow's battle is won during today's practice. The outcome of your future challenges, crises, and breaking points is being decided right now. It is determined by whether you choose comfort or growth in this moment. The monks under the waterfalls are not preparing for waterfalls. They are preparing for life. You are not training for cold showers. You are training for everything that will attempt to break you. Begin today, not tomorrow, not next Monday. Today. The person who starts today has already defeated the person who starts tomorrow. Remember, you do not need to be motivated. You need to begin. The path will teach you everything else. This is Shugyo-do. Your evolution starts now.